Will you hate yourself if you buy a house now? Will you hate yourself if you wait to buy a house? What should you do?
Live a happy, freedom life.
Alrighty, so there has been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter about the real estate market and what's going on. And I wanted to share with you my thoughts on what you should be doing if you're thinking about, moving. And the decision is really yours. There's a lot of the experts out there are all saying, oh, now's not the time to buy a house, that you should wait. And then there's a lot of experts, especially in the real estate market, that are saying, hey, now's the best time in the world to buy a house. So most people offer their opinion based upon what it is that is actually in their best interest and not necessarily in your best interest. And so hang on with me here, because I think you're going to find this, really interesting, because my goal is not to tell you what to do. My goal is to help you think and make a decision for yourself, to guide you so that you can make the choice that's right for you. Because there's an infinite situations, possibilities out there. If you're living in Los Angeles, California, you're in one situation. If you're living in Denver, Colorado, you're in another. If you're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Chicago, New York City, all those things are going to make a difference. If you're in your 20s and single, if you're in your 30s and married, if you're in your 40s and have, teenage kids in that, all these things are going to play into what is the right choice for you. And so many experts out there are saying, wait, don't buy a home. Now's a terrible time to buy a home. And, are you going to live your life in neutral while the market plays out? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And personally, I don't like living in neutral. I want you to be actively making choices, because I want you to be happy in life. And if you put off life, if you live in neutral, that's not being happy. And there isn't a right or wrong choice. I don't like to think of, in my opinion, no choice is a wrong choice. It might not be an ideal choice. You might have to change your mind, down the road. But if you think that you've made a wrong choice, then that messes you up for making choices, in the future, and you end up with the bad case of analysis paralysis. So, get that thought out of your head that there's a choice is wrong, because the road of life is paved with flat squirrels that couldn't make a choice. So, again, if you're in a situation, the people in Denver, Colorado right now, they're afraid to go outside at night because, the crime is so high. Same thing in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Everybody knows New York, Chicago are bad in that. So, you can't live your life in neutral with your family. So I did a little bit of research last night, and I scribbled it down on a piece of paper here, so hopefully I can read my own writing. But, because the two things that they talk about right now are the interest rate is really front and center, because it used to be, in the mid threes, and now it's in the mid sevens. So people are saying, oh, don't buy a home because the interest rate is so high. And then the other thing is home prices, shot way up after the pandemic, and they've leveled down a little bit. And hey, Bonnie. So again, it's the whole price thing. But the way I look at it is your home should not be thought of as an investment. If you're buying commercial property to, rent and turn a profit, that's what got people into trouble back in the 2008 crash, is people bought homes. They bought more home than they could afford. They got adjustable rate mortgages with balloon payments, and all the real estate agents said, oh, buy a house that you can't afford. And you buy $100,000 house, you put $5,000 down. In 5 years, you'll sell it for $150,000. and you're going to make, $50,000 profit on your $5,000 investment. That's a heck of a return. But unfortunately, prices tanked, and then the Fed, dropped the interest rates and all of that. So anyway, my research, and I really hope you hang on here, because I really want you to hear this, is in 1971, mortgage rates were 7.48%, which is about what they are right now. Right around 7.5 is what the interest rates are right now. In 81, 10 years later, the interest rate was 16.63, the highest that it ever was recorded. That was the peak interest rate that it's ever been historically. 1990, it dropped to 10.13%, 1013. 1998, it dropped to 6.94%. So if you were living in 1971, like this is 2022, pretend like this is 1971, and people say, don't buy a house because the interest rate's 7.5%. Well, you're going to wait 27 years for the interest rate to get back to what it is right now? All those years, you're going to live in neutral for 27 years. So just think about that. If you're 20 years old, you're going to wait till you're 47 years old to buy a house. If you're 40 years old, you're going to wait till you're 67 to buy a house. If you're 60 years old, you're going to wait till you're 6 feet under pushing up daisies to buy a house. Doesn't make much sense to me. And so, think about what's right for you, and you make the choice. Don't be listening to the experts saying, interest is sky high and the inflation is going to drive it, higher, and, wait for things to come down, because it could be 20, 25 years or more before things come down. And I personally, sharing my opinion, I think it's going to be at least 10 years. I think that with inflation and the supply chain issues that we're having right now and the economy and all of that, we're going to end up with the Feds jacking up interest rates, right and left. They're going to keep doing that. We're going to end up with some stagflation. So I really think that this is just the beginning, and 7.5, and rates are going to creep up. They may not go to 10 or 11 or 16, but they're certainly not going to come down anytime soon. And personally, 7.5% is really about the normal rate. The Fed dropped rates to zero after 2008 because, people were losing their shorts on everything. I don't think we're ever going to see 3.5% again for home mortgages. It may come down a little. We may get down to 6 or 5.5 or whatever, but I don't think we're ever going to see those kinds of rates again. So, you've got to decide what's going to be best for you. If somebody, if you stay in Denver and live your life in neutral, hoping that the rates come down, you may be there for years. If you get shot or robbed or carjacked, something happens to your family, is that worth it? How do you put a price on that? Will you hate yourself if you buy now? Will you hate yourself more if you wait to buy? So let's look at an example that is realistic for today. So suppose you buy a house and you borrow $200,000. That's your mortgage. And today's rate's 7.5%. I jumped on one of those online calculators. Your monthly payment's going to be about $1,400 with taxes and all the fees and everything. So $200,000, 7.5% interest. Your payment's going to be about $1,400. Suppose you wait, like you listen to the experts and you wait, and home prices drop 25%. So now your mortgage is $150,000 because you waited 2 or 3 years and the prices came down. So now you're borrowing $150,000, but because of the Feds jacking up the rates sky high, now your interest rate's 10.5%. Your mortgage payment's going to be almost $1,400, the same thing. So, and you've lived in neutral for 2 or 3 years, putting up with all the situation. And how do you put a price on that? If you have your own homestead, you can have a garden, you can chop down your own trees to heat your house and your wood stove. You're not paying ridiculous utility rates. You can't just wait around and that, because none of us, not you, not me, none of us gets out of here alive, right? So we only get so many trips around the sun on this rock. So you might as well enjoy life and be happy with the things. Make your own choice. I'm here to guide you so that you can make the decision that's right for you. Don't listen to all the people that are telling you what to do. It's about living life, living freedom in this everything going wrong world. Freedom!